Welcome to Beth and Ryan's YouTube channel. Beth and Ryan are Guelph realtors helping clients make more informed decisions when buying and selling real estate. For more information or to contact them, visit them on their website listed in the show notes.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan and welcome back to our next video, which is the difference between a deposit and a down payment. Now, both of these things are due when you purchase a home. So understandably, there is some time where they're used interchangeably or even incorrectly. But this video is going to take you through some of those details. If you would like more information, of course, you can always contact us and we'll link our blog below, which gives more detail. Okay, so what's the difference between a deposit and a down payment? Well, a deposit is due within 24 hours, unless agreed upon otherwise, of an accepted offer, whether it's conditional or not. A down payment is due by your lender right before you go to close on the property in order to get a mortgage. So let's go in depth a little bit further about each of these because they do play an important role in the purchase and there are serious implications if these are not followed through on. So firstly, a deposit. Okay, so for a deposit, it is typically due within 24 hours, unless agreed upon otherwise, of an accepted offer. And that offer can have conditions or it may be a firm deal to buy the house. Regardless, as long as it's accepted, the deposit is due. Now, it's important that your realtor has this discussion with you or you are aware of this before you submit an offer because with so many people now having virtual banks, sometimes they cannot get the deposit available within 24 hours. We had a situation not too long ago where a client had a virtual only bank, and although they had the funds, there was a process to get them delivered. And so these are some banks like PC Financial or Simply where the funds just aren't associated with a physical bank, and it takes time to get the funds delivered in a bank draft. A deposit is typically 4 to 5% of the purchase price. So if the home price is $1 million, the deposit can be $40,000 to $50,000. However, it is up to the seller to decide how much that deposit will be. The seller may say they're okay with 3%. The seller may require 10%. And it is negotiable, but there are guidelines that are set by the seller when the listing comes out as to what they would like from a deposit perspective. Typically, when we're working with clients, we advise them that they should have 5% liquid before they even write an offer. In the event that the seller accepts their offer, that they are in a position that they can get the deposit delivered. Pre-COVID, most oftentimes deposits would be delivered by a bank draft. And that means you go to your bank, and as long as you have the funds in your bank, they will give you a bank draft, which is then delivered to the listing brokerage. And they hold on to it and issue you a receipt. After COVID, when people weren't going to banks or banks were closed or they were trying to minimize in-person discussions, wire transfers became a regular thing. And now I'd say probably 50%, if not more, of transactions are done by wire. And this simply means that if your offer is accepted as the buyer, the listing agent will provide a bank account or instructions that you can electronically go to your bank and send the funds. It's very easy if your bank and the listing brokerage's bank are the same bank. It's almost like an e-transfer, but if they are different, it can still be done very quickly. So you would take these instructions to your bank, let's say it's RBC, and say, I would like to send $40,000 to Scotiabank, and it is done almost instantaneously. Sometimes it takes a day or so, but with a receipt, it's proof that you have sent the funds within 24 hours. That deposit or those funds are held by the listing brokerage until the closing and are applied to the purchase price by the statement of adjustments of the lawyers. The lawyers deal with it and sort it all out. Now for a down payment is the amount that your lender requires that you have available to close the transaction. And for everybody, their own personal financial situation is different. So there's no specific amount that is required upon closing, except if you buy, let's say, a rental property where you're required to have 20% down, or if you're buying a house over 1.5 million in Canada, you have to have 20% down as well. So Let's say, as an example, you are buying a rental property and it costs $1 million and you have to put 20% down. So that would be $200,000. If when you bought the house, the deposit that you gave was $50,000, your lender would take that into consideration on the closing, and the statement of adjustments would reflect that you've already given 50 and that 150 is still left to go. It's very important that you keep in contact with your lawyer, because upon the closing, the lawyer puts together a statement of adjustments, which is simply a balance sheet, a plus and minus of things that you have to be aware of on the closing and settle up. These could be things like taxes or utility bills or any other rental items, anything that needs to be sorted out for the day of closing. The lawyer will send you an email or call you and say, buyer, you need to bring in a bank draft for X amount of money. And that includes the difference of that statement of adjustments plus the remaining balance due from the requirement as a down payment of your lender. Sometimes it can be a big chunk of money. And so you need to make sure that up to 2 weeks prior to the closing, you have those funds available. And they're in a place that are not going to get you in hot water, in that you can show from a bank statement perspective that you know where they're coming from and that the bank can clearly see where those funds are coming from. That's the short on the difference between a deposit and a down payment. As I mentioned, you can read the blog below for more information, or as always, get in touch with us on our website at bethandryan.ca or give us a call. Talk to you later.